Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. And what has been a very difficult and very sad weekend here for us Barcelona fans. We are going to be talking more today about the very, very unfortunate passing of Carles Minarro García, more about him as a person and what he meant to the club. And of course, given that we all were so excited about the game, so excited to see Barca in action yesterday, we didn't get to experience that, unfortunately. But today, we are going to have a full video. We're going to be talking about our preparations ahead of Benfica. We're going to be talking about some transfer news as well. I've got a really, really good Xavi interview. He's been coming out there and speaking about his departure from Barca and about his time at the club, which I think is really, really insightful. All of that is on the way in what has been a tough 24 hours. But let's come together here as the Barca family and unite. So come on, guys. And let's do this. But we do indeed begin with the very sad and unfortunate events from last night, guys, where, of course, Barca versus Osasuna was postponed, and it was absolutely the right decision, because I have to say, it was very, very sudden and unexpected there. The passing of 40-year-old Carles Minarro García, the Barcelona first-team doctor, and he was somebody there, let's make this very, very clear, who was extremely close to the players. He had a really, really good relationship there within the club, and he was such an important part of, let's not forget, the medical staff at Barcelona in a season where it's been much, much improved. Do not forget there that we've really, really improved the medical side, the injury prevention, of course, and all of those people in the medical team, they've been the driving force behind that. So Carles Minarro García's work should not go unnoticed or unappreciated. And yesterday, when Joan Laporta, the Barca president, announced his passing to the world, he did say, everybody here loved him. Everybody at the club had a really fantastic relationship with him. And he was a great person, really great person there to be around, an incredibly good man, and somebody as well who took his work very seriously. He was deemed there as such a professional person, and there's no doubt we will miss him inside the club, both his personality and what he gave us there on the medical side. And everybody within the club felt that yesterday, because like I say, his passing was very unexpected. He was at the hotel, he was with the players doing all of the pre-match stuff, the pre-match meal, and then later on in the afternoon, moving in there to the evening, he did pass away in his sleep. Very, very sad. And with the club being as it is, such a tight-knit group, remember this season, Hansi Flick has been so insistent on making everybody a real family. That's the feeling within the club, whether it's the players, whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's the medical staff, everybody has got that real bond. And that is why yesterday hit everybody so hard. The players would have been affected, and that is why the game was postponed. And you can see here, right the way across social media, all of the Barcelona players coming out, sending messages, of course, to Carlos's family. Everybody is together right now, and everybody is feeling it. But Carles Minarro García will never ever be forgotten at this club, because indeed today training did go ahead. Of course, the players here and the coaching staff, they still have to prepare for the very important Champions League game coming against Benfica. But before that training session, I thought it was really nice to see they all gathered, the players and the staff there in a big circle, and they did hold a moment of silence for Carles Minarro García. Along with then it broke into applause in his memory. A really, really nice touch there, and there's no question they will all still carry him in their hearts and their minds in these games and in the season to come there. So ultimate respect and all of my thoughts right now going out to those affected by his sad passing. And of course, guys, football is not the priority right now. I absolutely understand that, and I can completely get behind that as well. But of course, many people are asking, well, Barca versus Osasuna, it was postponed. So when are we going to play that game again? When is that going to happen? Where's it going to fit into the calendar? Because I have to say, the schedule is incredibly full right now. Finding a gap is not going to be easy looking at the way that it is right now, because apparently the game as it stands could only be played right now during an international break, and that would be the coming international break in March, around the 27th there. Or if not in that time, it would be just days before the last match day in La Liga, waiting right the way until May, either the 20th there or the 22nd. Those are the only dates that remain open at this moment in time, and it's kind of interesting to wonder if it was to be in that international break, you know, how would that work? Could Barca prevent players from joining up with their national teams in order to have a full squad for a very important La Liga game? Barca do have that power. They could technically stop players joining up with the national teams. They've got that authority, but it's a very, very unprecedented situation right here. And of course, they've got to try and deal with it in the best way possible. And on the footballing side as well, thinking about that Benfica game, it was interesting to see yesterday that Lewandowski, he wasn't only not going to be in the starting lineup for the game. Ferran Torres was going to be playing as the striker against Osasuna, but Lewandowski actually wasn't even included in the squad yesterday, and that was because he was not feeling 100% fit. There was a little bit of discomfort there with him. No risks were taken in the squad yesterday, but what we have to say on that is that Lewandowski, it is only a minor problem right now. It's only going to be a very, very minor issue, and he is fully expected to be back and all fine to face Benfica on Tuesday. And don't forget, in that game on Tuesday, guys, it is the earlier kickoff time. So Barca here are ramping up those preparations. They've got to try and get themselves ready for what is a very, very big and very important game, the second leg. And of course, we have a 1-0 advantage. But indeed, guys, I would also like to talk today about some very big transfer news that emerged over the weekend there. And it is big because it comes directly from Fabrizio Romano, who, as we know, when Fabrizio speaks, we all listen for sure. Very, very solid information indeed. And he says right now that Barca are already exploring a number of options when it comes to signing a right back in the summer. Apparently talks have already started with several candidates there. Barca have been busy looking for the best option because what they want to do is bring somebody in addition to Jules Koundé here. It's very much not a case of trying to replace Koundé. Of course, he's one of the players in the Barca squad there that Flick absolutely loves. He's really, really happy with his contribution this season. But I think what Flick is really demanding from the club right now is that they give him somebody so that he can give Koundé some more rest. I don't think Flick has been too happy this season about the sheer dependence he's had to have on Koundé at right back there. He's had to play him and play him and play him, giving him very, very little rest. And that has also, let's say, impacted his performances at times this season. It has been harmful there in terms of, we know Koundé's best level, we know what he can do when he's really fit, when he's really fresh. But if you do overburden him, those performances are going to slip just a little bit there. So Flick would like to bring somebody else in at right back, and already, guys, you'd have to say, that isn't really looking good, is it then, for Hector Fort? And I think we've had that kind of sense all season long, right from the beginning of the season, whereby Flick just doesn't really seem to rate him. He hasn't really seemed to see eye to eye with Hector Fort whenever he's been given an opportunity. I don't think Hansi Flick has been all that convinced. He's not had a lot of minutes. I mean, look on the other side there at Gerard Martin. I mean, he's had a lot of minutes at left back. You know, he's played a plenty in that area, but Hector Fort hasn't really been given that same trust from Flick. So it doesn't really look good right now in terms of Fort's future at the club. And one player right now who is being heavily linked to Barca is the Romanian right back, Andrei Ratiu. Because according to Mundo Deportivo this morning, Barca are very, very interested in this man here coming in from Rayo Vallecano. Ratiu is 26 years old. He's actually got a contract until June of 2028. And he does have, though, a release clause of 25 million euros this summer. And MD actually say Barca have already met with him. They have already spoken there with the player. They've already spoken as well with his representatives. But there are so many clubs interested in him this season. He's had a really, really good season in La Liga. By the way, he is absolutely rapid there. He has got such speed on that right side. He's really attack-minded too. He's one of those fullbacks who loves to go. You know, you give him the license, you give him the freedom to get up the field. He is just going to go. But I would say as well, for his age, you know, for his ability right now, 26, he's a good player, but he doesn't have a tremendous amount of experience at the top level. He's been playing in La Liga for Rayo this season, but apart from that, it's been quite sporadic. But there are so many clubs interested. Atletico Madrid are one of those, Brighton, Atalanta, Roma, Tottenham as well. But Rayo, I have to say this as well, they would demand the full clause. They would demand the full 25 million euros because they'll only keep half of that money. 50% of that will go straight to Villarreal, who have a 50% sell-on clause, and also Villarreal too are interested in bringing him back. So Barca here have real competition when it comes to Ratiu, and I'm very, very eager to know, 25 million there, paying that full clause. Do you feel that he's worth it? Would that be a good investment for the club this summer? Or are there other options at right back that you would be eager to check out? Let me know, guys, in the comments down below. But of course, we're not done here. Far, far from it, because, and this is great in my opinion, we got an interview from Xavi Hernandez, because I've got to say on Xavi, you've got to give him huge respect here. He has not spoken barely at all since he left Barca. Since he had, don't forget, a really dramatic, really emotional exit from the club. He hasn't said anything, and I would compare that actually there to, for instance, when Ronald Koeman was sacked. He could not stop speaking there. He lashed out at Joan Laporta, he lashed out at the club, he was really, really angry about the way that it all went down, but Xavi, meanwhile, he has taken it so well, with the ultimate respect for the club. And would you expect anything else of this man right here? And he did an interview here with France Football, where again, I think there's great insights in this interview, because he said right there, the club was going through one of the worst periods in its history when I was appointed, even worse than the 2000s. But he said the expectations were extremely high in comparison to my history in coaching at the time. Which I think is very, very interesting already there, because it's not necessarily like Xavi is saying, well, the expectations at Barca were too high. It's almost like he's saying they were too high, given that I was a pretty inexperienced coach. He hadn't had much experience, any experience at the very, very top level when he came in at Barca, and yet the expectations were very, very high indeed. And Xavi, though, he did admit, and again, ultimate respect for this, he said at times, my deep emotional connection to the club, it may have worked against me. He said I was more emotional than I should have been in certain moments, but this experience has been a valuable learning lesson for me. And that is great to admit, because that was the one thing with Xavi. He knew the club perfectly. He understood the club inside out. Nobody could ever doubt that. But it did work against him. He was rooted there into the culture of the club in terms there of the media as well. He was so close, too close to them. It almost felt as though he was in too deep at times. And that is why here with Hansi Flick, he's come in not even speaking Spanish, not even really understanding too much about what's being said on the outside. And that has helped him tremendously. He has not been as emotional, as rooted into the history and the culture of this club. And as a result of that, Flick has been able to get on with his work, been able to get on with the changes that maybe Xavi felt as though he wasn't quite able to do. And he did say as well, I admit, I made mistakes in management. I admit that I made mistakes at Barca. He did single out there Busquets' departure. He said his departure forced us to rethink our playing style, and I chose to play with the midfield that included 3 attacking players. But that wasn't always the best option. And that would be probably my biggest criticism of Xavi. And maybe it wasn't all his own fault there, of course, with the recruitment as well, that wasn't really able to happen. The football that we played during his first spell, when he first arrived, when he came in with a pretty lacklustre squad, he really got the best out of it, and the football was incredible. But as we went on there, we lost that identity. I think he lost his own idea about how he wanted to play. And that's where I think he will feel that was his biggest mistake. Moving away from his own philosophy, not really sticking to what was working so well. And the football suffered. And as a result here, he did not feel too good about the way that midfield was set up. But I think the biggest quote, by far and away, and the most significant one, and the most important one, when we're thinking about Xavi, when we're thinking about his work at Barca, he rightly said, but beyond trophies, I feel very proud that I trusted a new generation of players, Lamine Yamal, Pau Kubasi, Alejandro Balde, Fermin Lopez. These players represent the very future of the club. And that, for me, That's what he brought to Barca, and that is what, no matter what has happened, no matter what did happen, that will always remain true. The fact that he did bring through Yamal, Kubasi, Balde, Firmin, he put his trust in them at a difficult time. It wasn't easy to do that. It took bravery, it took being bold and secure. He did that, and it is something that could set us up. You know, he set us up perfectly for Flick's arrival here. Xavi took the team, in my opinion, as far as he could do, as far as he could go, but it was to a great point. You know, he passed it over here. He passed over the foundations for Flick now, hopefully, to take to that next level. But Xavi has not given up in management. Far, far from it there. He said, right now, I've got nothing concrete on the table, but I'm open to offers. You know, he said, why not coach another team in La Liga? Or maybe even a national team. I'm looking for an exciting project, and I have the ambition to win trophies. I want to win the Champions League as a coach. I want to win the Euros. And I want to win the World Cup there. So I am really, really intrigued where Xavi is going to end up next. He's got an appetite for it. He wants to return to management. He's got a lot to prove, and he's still got a lot that he wants to win. And where do you feel he would suit most? You know, what kind of club, what kind of project do you think, okay, he'd fit right in there? He would really succeed in that kind of job. Let me know if you've got any suggestions here for Xavi in the comments down below, guys. And of course, it has been a tough weekend. And of course, we won't forget what has happened here to Carles Minarro García. He is in all of our thoughts. We will carry him forward with us this season. But let's make him proud now. Let's make sure that we honour him in the right way. And his work this season will not go underappreciated, guys. So thank you indeed for tuning in today on what has been a difficult day. But I hope that you're all doing well. I hope you're all feeling good. And like I say, go and give your loved ones a hug. Appreciate every moment and savour it here in life. I will see all of you guys soon. Thank you for your support here. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.